Good evening, I'm Katerina Georgieva. This is CBC Windsor News. Thanks for watching. Tonight, your taxi fares might be going up. Plus, tomorrow is Earth Day. We'll show you how one man is doing his part to tackle climate change. Eid Mubarak. We'll show you how people are celebrating. And an art gallery in Leamington is showcasing hundreds of pieces from local student artists. Let's start with the taxi industry. Drivers say the cost for a cab ride needs to go up. They're pushing the city to increase prices, telling the CBC's Dale Molnar that inflation has hit them hard.
There hasn't been an increase in cab fares since 2015, but cabbies say they've seen huge increases in their costs since then.
Standard living is high. So same with us as a cab driver, our grocery is high, our income is low. The gas is high, the mechanic is high, the car parts are high.
In one way, it's like a discrimination for me. That's how I see it. Like everybody was entitled for 10 years, everything went up, the minimum wage, whatever, everything went up, but not for us.
And according to Transportation Index in Canada, the inflation in that sector went 33%.
Cab industry representatives recently went before the Licensing Commission to ask for a 12% increase in rates. First is the drop rate. That's what it costs just to sit in a cab. That would go up to $4.25. The distance increment, that would go up to 25 cents per 142 meters. Waiting time while driving a passenger would go up to $30. The charge to go to the States would also go up. That would go to $12 Canadian or $9 US. If the changes are approved, a 10-kilometer trip with no delays would go up from $19.80 to $21.30. The Licensing Commission voted to recommend that City Council approve the increases.
You know, our taxi cabs in this city and every city are being threatened, and they need to do things to increase their revenue, or else they're not going to exist anymore. And who knows, maybe there's not a way to save them, but at the very least, we need to give them a chance.
People who ride cabs have differing opinions.
It doesn't bother me. I have a job, I work, I'm not on welfare.
I don't like it. The service is not for that price. Service is bad.
The issue still has to go before the Environment, Transportation and Public Safety Committee on May 24th. If approved, it would go before City Council at the next available meeting. Dale Molnar, CBC News, Windsor.
The Prime Minister and Ontario's Premier were in St. Thomas, Ontario today, just south of London, officially announcing the long-anticipated Volkswagen EV battery facility to be built there. The plant will be huge, and so will the investment, both from Volkswagen and from the government. The CBC's Lorenda Redicott reports.
This large stretch of land is set to become a VW battery plant so big, they're calling it not a mega factory, but a gigafactory, set to produce 1 million vehicle batteries every year.
It'll be worth over $200 billion to the Canadian economy over the coming decades.
The Prime Minister defends the huge $13 billion federal investment, saying it'll pay off in less than 5 years.
Everyone wanted this. So yes, we put up a lot of money that's going to come back in investments in economic activity very quickly.
3,000 people are expected to work at the plant, with another 30,000 indirect jobs created. This in a southwestern Ontario city of less than 50,000 people that lost thousands of auto jobs more than a decade ago. A Ford car plant, just one company that shut down, now an Amazon facility.
It really turned into a ghost town. A lot of neighbors moving and friends moving and a lot of places closing. So yeah, I think this is great.
As long as it ends up paying off in the long run, I think it'll be a good thing, because I mean, as long as there's the extra jobs to kick around, you're going to be seeing lots of more happy people.
The province of Ontario is adding $500 million in incentives to the company, promising to spend hundreds of millions more for infrastructure, roads, utilities, police, and fire. For the Premier, it's one piece of a sector he's trying to build up. The province is already investing in mining the minerals needed for making these batteries.
The cars of the future will be made right here in Ontario, from start to finish, from mines to manufacturing, by Ontario workers.
The Prime Minister is investing in a riding held federally by a Conservative who was at the announcement. He also took a political dig at the leader of the opposition.
Pierre Poilievre the leader of the Conservative Party of Canada, no relation to the Progressive Conservatives of Ontario, came out, sorry, that was a joke, you can chuckle, came out and said that this project was a waste of money.
The battery plant is set to open in 2027. Lorenda Redicomp, CBC News, Toronto.
When the Prime Minister made the announcement today, there was a group of federal workers on the picket line nearby.
The workers, united, will never be defeated.
As you can see from the messages on the signs, they are not happy about Ottawa giving Volkswagen millions in subsidies to set up an electric battery plant in the community when they're on strike fighting for higher wages. More than 150,000 federal workers went on strike Wednesday. Wages and remote work are the key issues for the union. About 50,000 have been deemed essential and are still on the job. Some federal services are impacted, like immigration processing, food inspections, and tax returns. We're getting insights tonight into how investigators probing that multi-million-dollar gold heist at Pearson Airport will try to solve the case. It happened Monday when an aircraft's cargo was transferred to a holding facility and later stolen. Police say the shipment contained more than $20 million in gold and other valuables. Dale Manukduk has the latest.
Pearson Airport handles 45% of the country's air cargo, but only one has caught the eye of police. Vanished from a holding facility earlier this week.
We really don't want to make an error and sort of focus on one particular area. We're trying to keep a broad outlook on it, so we're looking at all angles on how this item was stolen.
This former cop says law enforcement banks on the human nature of thieves.
If they pulled it off, sometimes these people will have a tendency to brag, and sometimes that is the crack in the shield that would allow investigators to be able to pinpoint who actually might be involved, because the street might start to talk.
So far, there's no word from police on suspects, and no one has come forward to claim ownership of the highly valuable container. Peel police say that the RCMP's help is just a phone call away. Bourdois thinks their intelligence would be helpful.
Report over the years have clearly highlighted that organized crime has infiltrated airports, ports, or different points of entry within our country.
The Greater Toronto Airports Authority says the thieves accessed the public side of a warehouse that is leased to a third party and did not involve access to Toronto Pearson. But that doesn't mean that someone on the inside wasn't compromised, and police will look at that too.
It's usually something they know that type of shipment comes in on this day, on this flight, every week or every month. It goes to this warehouse. Here's how long it's in the warehouse before it ends up getting picked up.
Now the question is, how will the thieves get rid of the gold and other items? This gold dealer says it likely won't be in the country.
Any gold that's getting sold right now, it's the first thing everybody has on their mind. The industry is very regulated and everything is well tracked. So I don't think they'll be able to offload this stuff.
Dale Manukduk, CBC News, Toronto.
Here's a story now that might help you get motivated to make a difference in the community this Earth Day. Gateway Park in the West End was in need of some TLC, so neighbor Alex Conroy took matters into his own hands, quite literally. He got some gloves, he got some bags, and started picking up trash. Our video producer Mike Evans caught up with him.
First set was about 35, some miscellaneous stuff that might not have fit in bags. And then I did another 14 with a bunch of other stuff that didn't fit in bags. So probably close to 50 total so far.
You get a lot of stuff and people dumping. So we've actually taken care of this a couple of times in the last 4 years. So it does kind of continue to roll in. When it gets really lush in just a couple of weeks, and then it becomes harder to get at the stuff, even though you can still see it. It gets a little thorny around here, and that's one of the things that encouraged me, is because I've thought this path has been really nice, and it didn't used to be a park until just this year. Those benches actually came just after I started cleaning this year. I think this looks fine. It's all natural now.
We're talking today about the Clean Sweep program that the City of Windsor offers. Can you tell us a little bit about the program?
So how the program works is residents and volunteers throughout the city can reach out to 311, and through 311 they get a hold of our department here at Environmental Services. We will reach out to the resident or the head volunteer, and we'll set them up with some garbage bags and gloves and kind of go through a few safety tips on how to go through these areas that they're cleaning up, and then we'll offer assistance with cleaning up the bags or any of the debris they pick up in these areas. We highly recommend, and we also provide the gloves for this, is always wear your PPE when you're out there doing these litter pickups. If you come across something that's hazardous like a needle or a sharp, we recommend using the 311 mobile app or calling 311 and reporting where you found it as much as you can to the exact location, and we'll have someone who's trained and equipped with the right PPE to come out and get that.
People across Windsor are celebrating Eid today and this weekend after a month of fasting. Hundreds of people went to prayer at the University of Windsor's Community Center this morning. We spoke with some of them about Ramadan and the festivities ahead.
Fasting for Ramadan really was, refreshing for me. I felt like, over time, you kind of start to lose faith over time, just because you're not reminded of not only like your community, but also knowing that religion is there for you. So I think for me, it was really refreshing. It kind of reminded me of, my faith. And honestly, this is probably one of the best times of the year for us, especially for me. I look forward for it. So I think that was a good time.
Yeah, so usually we're gonna go meet up with friends to, have a good day, things like that, go party.
Are you excited for the celebration at the end of it all?
I am. This is all it. It was worth a month of fasting.
Today it was Eid. We were so excited, me and my family and my kids. So we have some plan. We have to go dinner or lunch for a family, and I was so excited to pray all the Muslims around in the world to one place. So yeah, I'm very, very happy. All my family is back home, so I want to say hi to them. I want to say hi to Eid Mubarak to all of them, and yeah, I miss them.
We wear something bright, colorful. What do you like traditional clothing? Over here we have different cultures. There's some Indian, Pakistani, then some Arabic, Middle Eastern people. So we have different styles of clothing, but we usually wear our more traditional clothing today.
Tell me a little bit about what your outfit is. If you don't mind, I'm going to take a wider look.
Okay.
Tell me about it.
I'm wearing a kaftan here. It's not a traditional Indian dress, but it's something nice and I like to wear it, so I'm wearing it today. Eid Mubarak to everyone out there watching.
Let's take a live look outside there. It's looking gray, and yes, we've had some drizzle today as well, and unfortunately more showers expected tonight and tomorrow as well. Colette Kennedy will join us right after the break to talk us through our weekend forecast. Stay with us. Hundreds of artworks, from intricately layered pieces using glitter and tissue paper to colorful abstract paintings, have taken over the Leamington Arts Center. The artists, students from high schools across Windsor, Essex, and the pieces will be up until Sunday. We got a sneak peek at the gallery and talked to some of the artists.
I think when you walk in here, you wouldn't really realize it's student work. It's outstanding, the caliber of work that students are doing, and I don't think that people realize that in the programs that are in the schools within the city.
I like playing with different colors and listening to music and what music makes me think of when I make art, and I also like playing with proportions and different things, and it's very relaxing when I make faces like that.
I love doing outdoor pieces, so I'll roam around outdoors for hours and I'll take pictures of unique and pretty things I find, and then I'll look at them afterwards and I'll say, hey, this looks pretty cool. Maybe I'll leave it as it is, maybe I'll digitally enhance it.
It portrayed emotions, so each section was a different emotion of anger, fear, sadness, and happiness. And it pretty much just shows like the life of children and teenagers growing up, all the emotions that we feel and don't understand, and how parents can get confused by it. There's a lot of emotions in grade 12 that you're going through with different changes from high school to college or university and all that.
I kind of just go with the flow. I use my composition skills and my uses of like color theory, and I accidentally create really cool pieces. It's really rewarding. It makes me feel like my time is really valued as well. It makes me feel more motivated to continue with trying to learn new things in the future.
After the long and cold winter months, Canadians from coast to coast look forward to signs of spring. In some places, it can mean finding a barely recognizable lawn when unwanted visitors move in underground over the winter months. CBC's Nampande Lande has more on the story from Winnipeg.
This is what Island Lakes resident Gina Remillard found underneath all of the snow in her backyard. Voles had completely eaten up her lawn.
I was a little horrified because it means a whole summer of trying to reseed and nurture the lawn again.
Voles are small, chunky, mouse-like rodents who tunnel and nest underground and like to munch on roots and seeds. They like long grass and low decks, which provide them with warmth and protection from predators in the winter. They can cause significant damage to lawns, plants, and trees.
This is essentially like their food storage.
Susie Reimer has been doing pest control with her company, Valkyrie Pest Solutions, for 9 years. Susie says the best treatment for voles is prevention.
So eliminating the amount of vegetation in the yard, definitely do not have bird feeders because that's a surefire way to bring them in. And then just eliminating places for them to hide so that they don't have so many places to just quickly dart into.
Susie prefers what she calls mechanical solutions, like putting netting in the ground around fences and decks and trimming bushes and trees a good 2 feet up from the base. Just cutting your lawn very short before the first snowfall and getting rid of bird feeders will make a huge difference. Homeowners can also place snap traps in the voles' tunnels. And Susie says, as a last resort, they can put poison in the traps. To repair the damage, they can rake and reseed the lawn, but make sure to place traps near any of the new pathways that the voles may be using. Nampande Lande, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Colette, for anybody who takes pride in their lawn, that story is just an absolute nightmare.
It really is, you know, and we're moving into No Mow May coming up here. Mm-hmm. You know, there are benefits of that. So it's all a balancing act, right? We got to think of the environment and think of our enjoyment, I guess, yes. of our spaces as well. But the wildlife, well, they count too. All right, let's take a look here at our current temperatures. Do you see, if you just look at the colors here on the map and not even the numbers, the squeeze of the milder air to the east. So, yeah, earlier in the day, we were at 16 degrees. But Windsor 10 right now, Chatham-Kent 9. There are still 20s further east. I mean, Peterborough and Kingston, nation's capital, has been close to. That's where the warmth has moved on from. And dealing with also what has so far for Windsor been lighter showers. The winds are light as well. But there's more moisture here, quite a bit of it. In fact, waves of it that are moving towards the Great Lakes region. I do think much of it will slide just a bit further east, though, from Windsor, probably from Chatham-Kent to the heaviest stuff, I mean, in terms of it coming through the night and into tomorrow. But we're still going to have that risk of showers in here. So just kind of a closer look of what we're finding where we're into a drier pocket. There was a little bit of a heavier shot coming through Lakeshore and Chatham-Kent, a bit of a break, but there were some heavier rains there too. Plus, when some of these thunderstorms or the remnants of them move in, then locally you get a downpour and then that moves on. But see how much moisture there is? I mean, especially look at that rain, heavy rains there into western parts of Tennessee. And this is all streaming both northward and eastward. So there's that first batch coming through, more to come, but just watch how this plays out and where some of the heaviest stuff seems to run through the province from London up to about Parry Sound. And in fact, in that area, Huntsville, if you're doing any traveling this weekend, special weather statement there because some of the amounts, when you put it all together, could be 30 or 40 millimeters of rain. Elsewhere, it's going to be somewhat of a nuisance in southwestern Ontario because there's still some instability. Tomorrow, off and on some showers, and into Sunday, we're doing much better. An isolated sprinkle not out of the question, but we should get back into a nice pattern of getting some sun coming back, partly cloudy to a mix of sun and cloud. You can see that moisture plume just kind of stretching there from Chatham-Kent. You're on the edge. It shouldn't be too bad. And then all the way northward. A low tonight of 7, so at least the overnight low is mild with this system here, but I know, look at these numbers here. So 13 for tomorrow. Some cooler nights. Like it's just, we don't, at the end of the month, Katarina, and into May, things bounce back, even by the end of next week.
Okay, that's good to hear. We like hearing about a bounce back. Thanks for that, Colette.
You're welcome.
When we come back, a recognizable landmark along the river will soon be gone. We'll tell you more after the break. Some changes on your Twitter feed that are worth noting. There are no more blue check marks. Those checks helped verify the identity of notable people and organizations. The marks had been the way Twitter confirmed to users that the account belonged to the person whose name was on it. It's been replaced by a subscription charge for that blue check that anyone can buy. And on top of that, Twitter seems to have reversed a policy where it labeled CBC and other public broadcasters as government-funded media. It comes after public broadcasters around the world objected. According to Twitter's definition, governments could have varying degrees of involvement over editorial content. CBC is publicly funded, and that funding is voted on by all MPs. But the government has no involvement in its editorial content or journalism. Twitter also removed the label from state-controlled media in China and Russia. As for the CBC, its Twitter accounts remain on hold. A very recognizable landmark along the Detroit River will soon be gone. The Detroit Harbor Terminal building is in the process of being demolished. CBC spoke to Detroit photographer and urban explorer Andrew Russell about the building and why he loved to photograph it so much.
There's a lot of historical value there. From a photographer's side, it's a lot of people may see it as an eyesore now, but even in its decaying state, I see this thing of beauty. You look at it, you imagine how that building thrived and how it started, and you add in the fact that the Bobolo boat dock was right there with it, and there's that much more history added on. All the families remember running down to the harbor and getting on the boat and heading down the river to have a good time. And if you've seen some of the pictures I've taken from inside, it's dark, decrepit. There's leaks and crumbles of concrete everywhere. There's a lot of obstacles. It's not the safest place. Obviously, it's a decaying building, but there's a lot of beauty that comes in. Imagining that history as you walk through those halls and make your way up to the roof for possibly, I think, the most beautiful view of the city that I've seen is from the top of that roof. For Detroit, it's like a little slice of heaven. I mean, you've got Windsor on the right, you've got Detroit on the left, the Ambassador Bridge completing the image. It's great for sunrises because the sun pops right up over that east side on the river there. You stand there and you take it in, and it kind of puts you in awe to see a site like that. I do have one photograph when the water tower was still standing. You send the drone back several hundred feet and you use a zoom lens, and it really brings that background forward. And so you have this nice, just old historic water tower with downtown Detroit and the river there, and it just came out really nice. There's plenty of safe viewing spots right from the street there that comes down. I believe that's Clark, if I'm not mistaken. You don't go beyond the fence at this point. I've been in the building. It was scary when I was in it, so I'd hate for someone to go into a half-demolished building at this point and get hurt.
It'll be strange to not see that building anymore. That is it for CBC Windsor News. For more, go to cbc.ca/Windsor, and you can also find us on Facebook and Instagram. Thanks for watching, and have a great night and a great weekend.